Welcome back to Unstuck TV. I'm here with Mr. Al Jensen, or Magic Al Jensen.
That's right.
First met Al through, I think we met, our paths crossed several times through some speaker network groups, Toastmasters and National Speaker Association. But when you talk about Toastmasters, Al is like a member of 17 clubs, something like that?
17, 34, 59, a bunch. I've been in a bunch of clubs.
What is it about Toastmasters that you love being a part of?
I got to tell you, John, I love Toastmasters because it's a great place to be bad. You don't have, it's not like Unstuck. I mean, people paid money to come listen to these messages. They spent a whole day to stand up there and listen to these speakers. And, when you do that, you better bring it. You better be good. You better have a message. You better be polished. You ought to deliver some goods. But what do you do until you're ready to bring it with polish? You got to have a place to play. You got to have a place to practice. And that's what Toastmasters, in my opinion, is all about. It's a great place to try things out. I've been speaking for a long time on a lot of different topics on a lot of different stages, but I go to Toastmasters to try material out. Is this joke going to be a good opener? Is this prop and this demonstration going to be a good fit? Is it going to land with the audience? And you don't want to try those things out on a stage in front of 100 people who have paid $100 to come hear you.
Yeah, so Toastmasters is great for that initial, orientation. If you have trouble speaking in front of a crowd, definitely. So then you also started another group, or you're running another.
Right.
Tell me about the speaker network thing that you do.
It's called the Las Vegas Public Speakers Club. It's in collaboration with Jackie McClenigan of Pure Potentials out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. She came to town last spring, and for 3 or 4 months, she did this speakers club where she invited people out and says, hey, we're going to give you a chance to be on stage. We're going to give you some positive feedback. We're going to collaborate. We're going to share ideas and thoughts and what have you. Kind of a step above Toastmasters for people who are taking it a little more seriously, but maybe not quite the people who are at NSA who are actually, making $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a year plus speaking. So she kind of got the ball rolling, and then last fall I took over. And now we're doing Las Vegas Public Speakers Club 2 times a month, the second and the fourth Mondays of each month. We do it for 3 hours. We've got 30 minutes worth of networking, and then everybody gets a chance to speak. Everybody gets some positive feedback, and everybody gets a chance to collaborate and network with everyone else in the room.
If somebody's interested in joining that, how do they find you?
They find me at aljensen.com, and I will turn you on to the right places. I mean, I've got meetup groups and all sorts of stuff, but shoot me an email, easy for me to say.
An email.
An email. I should have come to rehearsal. Al at aljensen.com. That's Jensen, like the speakers. So shoot me an email, and I'll get you hooked up with all the details.
So it was 2014 when I just finished writing my first book and decided to check out this world of public speaking, and you were one of the first people that I met.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot from you and from several others, and I always say one of the best things that happened to me was I got into this business when I was completely broke because I couldn't afford to pay a coach at that time. And so I was able to learn a lot from a lot of different people.
Sure.
And I learned a lot about the visuals and things like that from you. So if you were speaking to somebody that was brand new, what are some tips that you would give people that are just starting to share their stories?
Ooh, wow, that's an awesome question because I've mentored numbers of people in Toastmasters, and I mentor a lot of people through the Speakers Club, and people pay me as a speech coach, and doing blogs and the website, all that kind of stuff. But probably the number one concept or issue that I come across is speakers want to start writing their speech because, I got a great joke. I'm going to open with this joke. I got a great story. I'm going to start with this story. But they never stop to think about where they're going to end.
Where does it take them?
Where do you want to take your audience? So I do a little illustration, a little exercise with my students, and I say, in fact, let's play it right here. We'll do that exercise right here. John, let's say that you came into a little bit of money, nothing big, a couple $1,000s. You decide that you're going to go on a vacation, and it's going to be a week-long vacation. You're going to get in your car, and you can go any place, pretty much in the western half of the United States. So let me ask you, what's the first thing you would determine, the first decision you would make if you were going to go on this vacation?
Probably when I'm going to go.
Okay, when you're going to go, And what would another thing be that you would
Where I want to go.
Where you want to go. So are you telling me you wouldn't think about going to get the oil change in your car? Maybe checking the oil pressure and the tire pressure in your car? Thinking about your wardrobe? Do you have a good suitcase? You wouldn't think about those things first?
Eventually, but they wouldn't be first.
Exactly. So the first thing you want to think about when you're going on a vacation is, where am I going to go? Where do I want to end up? Am I going to go to Disneyland? Am I going to have a great time in Southern California? Go to Venice Beach, maybe sit out there and get a tan, maybe do some fishing. What are you going to do? Think about the end. And that's when you're a speaker, where do you want the audience to end up? How do you want them to think, to feel? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to do as a result of listening to your speech? And if your ending isn't clear, then the rest of the stuff really doesn't matter.
I'm a little taken back by this whole conversation, considering as speakers, we don't get to take those vacations that we want, right? I just got to tell you, my last week sounded like a dream week. I had 3 speaking engagements last week in Honolulu, Disneyland, and Hollywood.
Yeah, so
I did nothing Hawaiian, nothing Disney, and nothing Hollywood related.
That's 'cause you're working.
It was in and out. So
yeah.
So the vacation question is awesome.
I totally get it. But so in fact, not just new speakers. I get videos from a lot of people. I do this video coaching program where they'll send me a 5-minute video and they'll say, okay, what are the top 3 things you need to work on, the top 3 issues? And almost without fail, I go to the end and I watch the last 90 seconds of the video to find out, what the closing is all about. And then I go back and watch the first 30 to 45 seconds, and they are totally incongruent.
Absolutely.
Totally incongruent.
Yeah.
I said, that makes no sense at all. Know where you want to end up. Set the stage at the beginning. The stuff in the middle, that's just window dressing. That'll come naturally.
Yeah. So we share something else in common. I am the active dean of the National Speakers Association Academy Training Program.
Yes.
You are a former dean of that same program, and that's the biggest struggle that I have too. Is for me, it's getting people to understand that no one really cares about you until you involve them. So getting those stories to start off being about them is ultimately the most important thing.
Capturing the audience's attention, and right up front in the first 15 to 30 seconds, letting the audience know what's in it for them.
Absolutely.
What are they going to take away? What are they going to get out of this? And if you can't do that in the first 15 to 30 seconds, you're going to be spinning your wheels.
And then your stories will drag them in.
Oh yeah.
But if you start with just your stories, you lose them.
Yep. So get something to grab hold of them and get their attention and keep them from the opening bell until you send them on their way with your call to action.
What's another tip you have for them?
Well, once you've determined where you want the audience to end up, then go back and create the opening and make the opening kind of setting the stage so your closing will be a callback to the opening.
Right.
So if you can call back to the opening, the audience will know, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. Now it's making sense. All the pieces fit together. So they understand without you having to say, that's it, that's my time, I got to go, goodbye. They know that you've told them what you're going to tell them. You've given the stories, your illustrations, your props, your whatever, and then you've wrapped it up. You've told them the point and what you want them to take away, give them a call to action. It makes sense. So know where you're going to end, use the opening to set the stage, and then tell stories to grab them by the heart in the middle.
Another great tip related to the callback is I try to include at least 2 callbacks in my speech from something else that happened earlier that day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed, but in my speech I mentioned 2 things that somebody else said before I got on stage.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that, and you have hung around John Kindy a little bit because John Kindy is the master of that. He calls it observational humor because his is humorous points,
right? And
many times it's humorous, but it doesn't have to be. It can be, Galit made a really good point, or Stephen made a really good point, and I like the way he did this, or I love that.
And what that does is actually shows that you're live and in the moment, and you're not just up there giving a canned speech.
Precisely.
So, I happened to notice something that Galit had said that was part of a point that I was making, so just credit her with that.
Yeah,
and,
tie it together.
Brian had mentioned something in the interview about your lowest level of training, so that was something that related to what I was saying. So
exactly.
I actually watched a speaker one time who followed Eddie Garcia.
Really?
So Eddie had the missing limbs, right? And then this person in their speech said, I would really be afraid to lose a body part. And then they mentioned something that had nothing to do with Eddie. And I'm like, perfect
Wow.
opportunity. Perfect opportunity to call back
Yeah.
and just show like how present you are in the moment.
Yep.
So keep your eye open for those opportunities.
Yeah. Hey, say hi to Rick Moore and Doug Wood. I see that you're on here.
Dave Swarm, awesome to see you. Jeff was in our first 2 Unstucks.
All right.
Kayla. So, hey, thank you guys. You can catch us at unstuckconferences.com, johnpolish.com,
AlJensen.com.
and we will see you next month.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.